I have this open here. Let me think about this for just a moment. What I was thinking was that I was going to maybe use one of the thumbnails here. Let me just try to remember what was going on.
Can I talk to you now?
Sure. Did you upload to the class? You did, didn't you? I'm sorry.
Me?
Yeah.
You already saw mine.
Right. So what did you want to talk about?
The thumbnails. So I measure it with my thumb, and it looked like it's accurate compared to my thumb length.
What about it?
The thumbnail, the size of it.
Yes, we already talked about that.
Yeah, so I measure it with my thumb, and it looks perfect to me.
These?
Yeah.
All right, so this is a good place to start. I think that what I'm going to do for you and for everyone else is to just give an idea. And again, I think it would have been better if these would have been a multi-page PDF. I mean, it's what I've got right now. But let me take a look at your script. A dog walks into the dog park. Another dog sits in the dog park. Person approaches one of the dogs. The person and the dog exit the park and drives home and then sleeps. Okay, so that's your story.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm going to do right here is we're going to just leave this open, and I'm going to do thumbnails off to the side here. And again, I think that what I'd like to do is just give everyone the opportunity to see the speed and the thought process and the idea of how to bring this script into the thumbnail phase as quickly as possible. All right. Phil, are you watching?
Yeah.
All right, so pay attention. You had your map up there, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw another map. And what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of give myself environment. You say dog park, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, a dog walks in. So
Yeah.
this is dog one. Come on, Zoom. And he sits, so he's going to walk in and he's going to sit. So I'm just going to put that little action path right there. Another dog walks in and sits. So maybe they're going to come from this area and sit. They're going to sit next to each other. And then so this is dog two.
Yeah.
A person approaches one of the dogs, and maybe the person is going to come from this way. And so this is my assembly. This is person. And the person and the dog, so maybe these two drive home and then they sleep. So your story doesn't have a lot of action in it. You know, it's just like the enlightenment. It's just like the beginning of the story. So I'm going to try to embellish on this just a little bit. This is a park. So I'm just going to draw a tree.
Okay.
And I'm going to draw another smaller tree. And I'm going to make like some indication that maybe there's some houses out here.
Okay.
And there's a fence. And this is one of the more interesting things about Zoom is that you can just draw everywhere on the screen. So that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here you might have a parking lot. So I'm just going to draw some rectangles as cars. There might be like a little walkway. There might be a trash can. There might be a little duck pond. There might be, it might be grass, but there might be a walkway all the way around the duck pond. And there might be a walkway from the gate all the way to the duck pond and all the way around it. And then it goes off this way. So that there might be like a little rec center over here, a little building where kids can play baseball. So the baseball field is like this. And there's a fence here. And the reason that I'm doing this is because we might be able to see this if our line of action is like this. We might be able to see this. All right, so the first establishing shot, I might pull my camera back over here so that we can see this whole park.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And then I'm gonna need a camera over here where we can see the whole assembly. I might need a camera here of the dog walking. I might need a camera here. And I might need a camera here of them getting in the car and driving away.
Good.
All right. All right. So let me switch colors again. I'm going to use a blue. All right. So the first thing I'm going to think about here is this establishing shot. And so what this camera sees, this camera is pointed here. Again, this is your opening shot. This is the enlightenment. This is the beginning of your story. So I'm just going to write enlightenment. This is your exposition, right? All of these things mean the same thing. So the camera's pointed that way. So I'm going to align my storyboard panel like this. And for this, I'm just going to call this a master shot. And we're borrowing the word master shot from cinema. And in order to draw this, I'm going to look, what does this camera see? The camera sees this dog pond first, this duck pond first. But the first thing I need is my focal points are right here, and my horizon is right here. And that means that this duck pond is I'm going to draw my perspective grid. And remember that your perspective grid is up in the sky too. And these are the hard lines to draw. Center out, up and to the left. These are a little easier to draw. All right, so there's my grid. All right, then a little darker color. I'm going to go brown. All right, so what the camera sees is this duck pond, and this duck pond is going to be like this. It's going to be an oval. And it's going to see the walkway. It's going to see this tree out over here, which I'm just going to indicate as a big oval. The smaller tree back here is going to look something like this. This fence right here is the corner of the fence, we see it, it's going to be like right here. So that fence is going to be like that. And the cars are going to be over here. The dog is going to walk this way. The path around the little duck pond and away. And then the recreation center is going to be about right here. Again, to the vanishing point. And then the baseball field. And the fence that goes along with it. So it's not part of our story, so we just need to know that that's the baseball field over there. All right, so our dog 1, dog 2, and the guy are going to be about right here. That's the 2 dogs. That's the guy. This is our establishing shot, right? And again, you use all these terms because we're borrowing from cinema. It's the opening shot. It's the enlightenment. It's the exposition. It's the establishing shot. This is our master shot. Everything is right here. This frame that I drew right here, I just drew lightly. If you wanted to, you could say, well, you know, I liked the way that this was going. And so I'm going to give myself a wider camera when I go to finish the storyboards for this establishing shot. And when I'm doing this, the reason that I'm drawing it crooked like this is because that's the direction this camera right here is pointed at. Does that make sense? All right, so what I can do now is I can also think, you know, with this map, what if I were to have a shot where we were going to use a bird's eye view? So yes, this is my establishing shot, but what if I did a shot that looked like the camera was on a telephone pole? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same basic area, but maybe the camera is going to be out here. So let me draw like an extremely wide view, an extremely wide view for an establishing shot. So I'm going to draw my horizon first. I'm going to draw this duck pond. I'm going to draw the path around it. I'm going to take a look. Here's the tree. And then I'm going to stop because in this condition, my vanishing point is here and my perspective grid is here. And maybe I want my camera to be a little higher because this grid is very close to this. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to do a little correction here. So I'm going to erase this and I'm just going to make a little correction to my grid. So I'm going to, oh, I have to switch tools. Hold on. All right, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I've got those little lines that are indicating where my original horizon was. I'm going to move this horizon up. And I'm going to use a 1-point perspective. And I'm going to get this grid working. And so now I'm looking at it saying, I want a more of a top-down view of this. So I could even put the horizon up a little higher and get the idea that instead of an oval, that this duck pond is going to be a little bit more roundish. And as soon as I establish that, you'll see that I'm going to be doing more of a master shot. So it's like a camera that's between this camera view from this master shot or this establishing shot and the down view. So now our perspective is going to be more square, actually. All right, so having said that, the tree is going to be here. We're looking at the fence. The cards are off the screen over here. This little tree is going to be over here. And we'll be able to see our perspective better once we see this rec center. So this recreation center is going to be more of a top down on the box. We'll be able to see the roof of the rec center and the baseball field, the perspective on it's going to be more like that. All right, and so then this just establishes, you know, this is like an extremely wide shot. And I'm just looking at this in terms of my thumbnails. just to see if I want it, just to see if I need it. So if this is more interesting than this, then I can pursue it. If I want both, and I say, well, I'm going to use this extremely wide bird's eye view, which is a BEV here, and then I go to this. So this would be panel 1, and I can do like some camera move on it or something. And then this right here would be panel 2, 002. You have to think to yourself, do I need this? Does my audience need this kind of exposition between showing a bird's eye view and a shot like this? If you were going to do this story in Maya and you could build this whole stage, then it would just be easy. Then you could set your camera at an extremely wide bird's eye view and then move your camera down into this position, and it would just be panel 1 with a camera move on it going into panel 2, and that has you. But if you're drawing it, you might want to say, oh, this is my panel 1. There might be something moving in here, and so this ends up becoming shot 1. We don't need the sequence. We don't need that. We don't need the scene because this is just a short story. But I could write my screen direction here. Exterior, day, city park, 2 dogs meet each other. The human gathers the dog. It's time to go home, right? And so just from what we have and what we're thinking, I think that this sets up our establishing shot. All right, so I don't think that I can select things in drawing with zoom so that I could rotate this, but as you can see, this is a good establishing shot. All right, and so that's this camera right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, now we're going to cut. We're not going to zoom into this. We're just going to cut to that dog walking right here. And as soon as we see that, so this little thumbnail right here, I'm going to put over here. So what that thumbnail sees, and remember, these little lines are close to the 16:9 as I can just sketch them. As soon as we see the perspective grid, our horizon about the first third, we get the grid in there. This is going to see the tree just like right here. This is a big tree. So now that we're closer to it, we're only going to see the bottom of that tree. So that if we drew the top of it, it would be way over there, really big. That camera might see the walkway. If there was anything in the background here, like some bushes, I'm just going to indicate those bushes with a squiggly line. It might see these houses back here. So I can draw the rectangular houses. All right, so now I'm going to switch colors so I can see our dogs. And our first dog is just going to be a line of action, a head, and some feet. And then the other dog is going to walk in. So this is position 1. And what I can just determine here is if in the assembling of my story, if this camera is going to follow the dog so that it goes to this camera right here, then what I want to do is I want to take this line and erase it. I'm just going to say, I'm going to delete that line right there so that I can draw more of the horizon, and I can draw the other part. So the duck pond is going to be here. Our little pathway, the fence for the car. So the cars are over here. Remember, our story panel is right here. Our vanishing point is right here. And then the recreation center is over here. It's still going to the same vanishing point. And then we are not going to see the baseball field in that particular shot. But we can elongate this and say, I can do a pan right here. And it's perfectly fine. So if we wanted to start with this dog here and the dog walks in, right? This is for you, Phil, so pay attention. If we wanted to start here, then if we started here and the dog walked in and stopped right there, then we would miss all this action over here. So the way to think about this is that that second dog, this dog right here, dog number 2, is going to walk from over here. So you draw the head and the line of action on the dog, the little tail up in the air, the little feet, and this dog is going to walk. So you put an arrow here, and that dog is going to position, this is position A for the dog, and then he's going to stop and those 2 dogs are going to meet. Head, line of action, the tail in the air. So there's the position for your 2 dogs. It's really rough, loose sketching. At this point, the human is going to come behind them. And so when you look at the silhouette and the composition, the head, the line of action for the human is going to be about right there. And now you can go back in and think about how this is going to play out as a pan. And so just start like this. And the recreation center isn't part of our story, but the dog is. So if he's part of a cinematic thirds, then you want the camera to be about right here. And so here you put position camera 1. So you write camera 1, CAM1, and then you put an arrow over here and you write pan. And then this is, well, actually you do it by position. You can say camera 1, but then this is position 1, and then this is position 2. And so there's a horizontal pan that follows this dog until they get to this composition right here. So I'm not going to draw that line all the way through my background because it might interrupt the aesthetics of that shot. So that dog, so this camera follows this dog until he stops, and then this dog comes in. So this is dog B, and this is dog A. And then in your notes underneath the storyboard panel, you can write, what is your screen direction? Camera starts on dog A. The dog walks, the camera follows him, the camera stops at position 2, and dog A now walks in. And you can handle that all with one story panel, or you can copy and paste this a bunch of times and show the action of this dog walking. You can put the little intermediate position, or it's not necessary. Maybe the human was sitting at a bench over here. So in your map, you can adjust the map and say the human was sitting right here. And then he gets up and walks from a human 1 to human 2. And that is a good second panel. So this is panel 002. And this is shot 2, if that makes any sense. And then you can say, okay, good. So that's a camera. That camera was out here. So we took this camera and interpreted it as this camera. All right, so now I want what this shot is, but I don't want to cut or to zoom. And I want to avoid the jump cut. Jump cuts are bad. A jump cut, the example of the jump cut would be is that if I just took a close-up of one or all of or part of any of these characters and just went closer, that would be a jump cut, and I don't want that. One of the reasons why you don't want a jump cut is because in the old days of cinema, if there was a zoom or a pan or some sort of camera move and the film actually broke, that means the projectionist had to glue that film back together, and they would be missing a whole bunch of frames, and it would actually jump. It would start the pan or the zoom or whatever kind of move you had, and it would go from one and it would jump to the other, and it looked like it was a mistake So you want to avoid that. One thing that you want to avoid is if this shot right here, your characters are assembled right here, is this camera right here. So if you want to get a little closer on them so you can get some acting, then change the next camera to be a little different. So it's obvious. So now we're going to draw this as our camera 3. So what this camera sees, and I'm going to just, again, we're just going to draw a real loose 16:9. What does this camera see? It sees dog 1, dog A over here, dog B over here, the human is standing at the focal point over here. This tree is now really big, and we're only going to see a little bit of the leaves. We don't see the duck pond. The duck pond is behind us. We might see the little bench that the human was sitting at just a moment ago. What else do we see? We see the pathway that goes off the screen. We see the horizon, which is about right here. We see those bushes that we indicated in this shot here. So I'm just going to draw the little foliage of the bushes. And we might see some of those little houses back there. But this is important for us, the dog 1 and dog 2 and the human. Head, line of action, standing. And then we can start to compose this. Now we can draw the frames a little stronger, and we can look and see where our focal point, all the characters are on the focal points. Our horizon is either right here or right here. And this is a good fast thumbnail. This is panel 3. It's shot 3. And there's room here for camera, action, if there's any dialogue. Any notes that you want in here. What is the, again, I said this, I'll say it again. What is the inner voice? What are the dogs thinking? What is the human thinking? All right, so in your story, Bill, your characters just get in the car and drive away. And there's no action in there. So what you might want to do is you might want to consider going back to a camera that's like right here.
Where?
So this is your human right here in the map.
Okay.
So I'm going to put the camera right on the human's face, because the human right here is looking at both dogs. And what we're going to, the audience, what you can assume is that both of these dogs belong to this human. Now you can see that this is just a sketch, right? I've just drawn the gesture. I have not invested a lot of time in drawing this human character here at all, right? But he's looking at both of these dogs. And if this camera goes right here on the human face, then, and again, I'm just going to draw this really loosely. And this human is on the right side of the screen, right? He's on near the right side. So if you go back to our little coffee example about character A and character B, then in the next shot for panel 4 and shot 4, that human character is going to be in a mid shot now, but we want him to be on the right because he's on the right here. So draw the head, the line of action, his shoulders, give a 3-dimensional quality. He's close enough now that we can see how he's built. Maybe he's got a baseball cap on or something, right? But the idea here would be is that you want to work this shot out right here, because he's going to talk to the dogs. He's going to say, hey, Marco, hey, whatever the dogs' names are, Billy and Marco. The dogs' names are Billy and Marco. Hey, Billy, hey, Marco, do you guys want to go for ice cream? You know, and the
Yeah.
dogs understand ice cream. They know that word. So here in panel 4 is you say, hey, Billy, hey, Marco, the dialogue. You guys want to go for ice cream? In this shot here, we might be able to see a little bit of the tree, the horizon, some bushes, maybe a house. But the most important thing is now we're looking at this character and acting. This character saying something to the dogs. So panel, you might need a panel 5 to explain to the audience what this character is saying. So, and this is the same shot. It's still shot 4, but panel 5 is now a continuation of his acting. You might even need panel 6 to explain further. Hey, you know, he has his car keys. Hey, Billy, hey, Marco, you want to go get ice cream? So you might need 3 panels to describe this action right here. And then what you want to do is pull the camera back so it's more like this. So it sees the reaction of the dogs. And I'll just finish this little demonstration by drawing a tiny little thumbnail here where the dogs are like, just draw dog B, dog A, and they're just kind of looking at each other, right? Head, line of action, tail, feet on the ground. So this ends up being panel 7. And you cut. So this is shot 5. And they're going to freak out. So just right here, so now do even 3 smaller thumbnails. So they're looking at each other and the human is off screen right now. So you just do like a little silhouette right here of his shoe. And then the dogs so they're looking at each other and now they look up at him. And this is panel 8. This is panel 9. This is panel 10. All part of shot 5. These are all shot 5. And now the dogs scramble, they run around. See this? The dogs are running. The human's standing here, and all you see is a flurry of tail and ears and feet, and they're running around. And you could even pull back, you could even zoom out to reveal that the human is standing there. Okay, guys, you know, I didn't mean to flip you out. Then they can go get in the car to go get ice cream. So then if they're going to leave, so here's dog A, here's dog B, here's your human. They're scrambling around. Yes, woo, 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 right? Think about the dialogue, the inner voice, right? Think about the inner voice of the character, what the dogs are saying. Woo, 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 oh boy, we're going for ice cream. Then they're going to go out to the car, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to get in the car. So the human opens the door, and now you can draw this shot of him opening the door, and you're still okay with your line of action. And here's the window, here's the roof of the car, here's the headlights, here's the door. He's going to let them in. He's going to go around here and he's going to get in, and you can use the same camera, right? This is shot 5 here. So them walking right here, if your camera pans from the dog, so this right here is shot 5. If the camera pans as the human character, let's say that the human character is walking, right? And he's got his little baseball cap, and he's walking this way, and he's got his hands in his pockets. Okay. And as he's walking, the dogs are just continuously running around him. Roo, 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 tails, ears, eyes, feet. They're just scrambling all around him. You can't even see, the dogs aren't there. There's no even drawings. It's just a cloud of dust as the dogs are running around. You draw little arrows, dogs running, bark, 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 roo, 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 and he's walking. So that he's going to pan here. He comes up to the fence, and then he goes out, lets the dogs in, goes around, gets in the car himself, and then pulls away. So he's going to pull away. He's going to pull the car back out like this, and then go that way, which is all this camera. And then you can end it with a drawing of the car. So you draw your story panel. And you get yourself a perspective. So you get your horizon. You put a vanishing point like right here. So in order to draw a car, you draw a Kleenex box. And I think I want to put my car closer, just a little bit closer, like a little bit closer to the vanishing point, because I want to see both dogs. So this is my Kleenex box in perspective. Here's the wheel, the front wheel of the car. Here's the back wheel. Here's the hood of the car. Here's the windshield. You see it evolving? Okay, and then the guy is right here. So just draw a head for the guy. The steering wheel, you draw some headlights for the car. But what's going to pay off is that you've got one dog out here with his ears and the other dog over here. And the car is now driving. Here's the wheel of the car. Here's the horizon. Here's the road they're on. Right? Mm. And the idea would then, as long as you've got this thumbnail established right here, the background can be panning. But what's important here is the expression of the dogs. So right now they're just a simple gesture, but you've got everything in the right place. You've got the car, the vanishing point, the horizon, the guy. You've got the dogs in the right place, and their tongues are hanging out. And you're, again, in your storyboard panel, if you write in the inner voice, they're like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, right? The dogs are thinking to themselves, oh boy, we're getting ice cream, we're getting ice cream. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, so you see what I did? You know, I took maybe 35 minutes here to drag this out for you. Now I went just a little bit slow, but I think that this is a good example of taking a story, Phil, that you had like the beginning of the story, but you didn't have like the middle or the end of it yet. And just thinking through the idea of one map, one establishing shot, we did the other establishing shot over. It just wasn't quite working, right? It was just, we don't need it. This one shot right here is all we really need. This is good enough. That's our shot one. And we drew everything in relation to the map so that our thinking process, we had to follow through that this is when the dogs are scrambling around here and this guy's walking and they're saying, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is shot 5. This right here would be shot 6 or whatever. I'll put a question mark because this could be a continuation of this last panel here. You could handle it both ways. But then the thing that we did not draw here is shot 7. We did not draw this shot. We did not draw shot 7. And then this right here is, so we do panel 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This could be panel 12, 13, 14, 15, and then this becomes panel 16 and shot 8. And this is about right. Remember, I said that for a 20 or 30-second story, you need about 16 to 20 story panels. So, and this is the money shot right here. Their tongues hanging in the air. And so even though this is a rough, you've still got the idea of where all the perspective is, but you've got the dogs hanging out the window. Their little paws are right here. And everything is good. You've got everything on focal points. It's a fairly good composition, even though it's rough. And the lines are okay, even though drawing in Zoom is a little rough. Right here gives you a pretty good indication of what the human might look like. You've given him a decent proportion. Now you got to go back and figure out what your dogs look like. So, jump over to the internet and do like a, let me get back here. Some research on what the anatomy of dogs look like. Get there. You want dogs with flop ears. There's lots of different dogs, right? What does your dog look like? There's a line of action. A dog with a big tail. So then you're going to design your dogs and use your pencil, use your digital stylus instead of trying to draw with a mouse.
Yeah.
And this is the fun right here. Having fun with this design. This is fun. It's fun trying to figure out what the human looks like. But right here, this is your master shot. Actually, this is a fun shot to draw. But the one shot that's going to be really fun to draw is this one. The guy, just a regular guy walking, just a regular traditional 2D animation walk cycle with just two dogs scrambling around. Roo, 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 roo. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You don't even see dogs. It's just all dust and tails. All right, Phil, I hope that helps you.
My brain is kind of exploding with bunch of seeing drawings here.
Yeah, storyboard's a lot of drawing. And so your next, so this is great. This thinking right here can be done like all on one big piece of paper or something. But then your next job then is to assemble all these storyboard panels in a linear way. And so then you get out your regular piece of paper and you do your title card and you give lots of room around each one of the story panels. This is panel 1. This is panel 3. Give lots of room for all your story panels, both left and right. When you get to this part right here, where there's a big pan, then draw that as one big story, one big panel like this. You erase these lines and start again. This is one long pan right here. It starts from this position, goes this way, and ends here. Give yourself lots of room for these thumbnails. If this is one piece of 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you might only get 9 story panels on this page. And they're fast. Remember that when you're doing thumbnails, you're drawing fast. You're drawing line of action. You're drawing poses. You're drawing the verbs. You're transferring the verbs from your script into visual, right? And so we changed this. We changed the idea of sleeping. Sleeping is not animating. We changed that to ice cream. oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And that's more fun to animate than sleeping. You got the idea?
Yeah.
All right, so
And
this is recorded. You don't
so
have-
a thumbnail can also be like white, like the car one.
Yes. All right, did you want to take a picture of that with your phone?
Yeah. Um, my computer.
You could do a screenshot because I'm going to erase it here in 8 seconds.
I have a question.
Yes.
87654. Okay, got it.
Yes. Question.
So when we're drawing these thumbnails, do you want us to like have, like you kind of drew the eyes and like the nose and the hair kind of the guy? Should we put it like that level of detail in it?
Well, I did it on this particular shot right here because this is a mid shot.
Mm-hmm.
And in a mid shot, you're kind of obligated to at least establish where the eyes are looking. If you're, so remember that the way it goes is that you go from extremely wide to mid, and then mid to and each one of these different camera positions can have varying degrees between them. You go from a mid to a close mid, or you go to a close up, and then you go to an ECU, which is an extreme close up. In this story, we don't have any extreme close ups, but if you did have an extreme close up, you would be obligated to just go into the thumbnails and say, oh, in this particular shot right here, I know that let's say that you wanted to, in your final shot right here, is to zoom in, or let's say you wanted to zoom from this dog right here, right? And this dog is an ECU, an extreme close-up. And that dog, his head is like just a little bit left of the screen. His snout is like this. His eyes are like this. And his tongue is like out the window, right? And because it's an ECU, you're obligated to both establish where the dog is in the shot, but then you're going to have to go back in, and when you're doing your storyboard panel for like a cleanup version later, not for this project, then you're going to want to identify more what he looks like on model.
Oh, okay.
So at least here you know that there's a dog. His ears are flapping in the wind. His tongue is flapping in the wind. He's happy. Yeah, so in an ECU, you would definitely need anything from the mid on up to an ECU. You would need at least some sort of three-dimensional build so you know where the eyes are. And all these other ones, they're just poses.
Mm-hmm.
They're just poses. You're thinking with your pen, you're bringing the words to life. And the only way to get this is to use the map. There are only a few people who can go from the words directly into boards. And the only reason they can do that is because they've done it for years. And they have the whole story playing in their mind's eye. And this is all in their head anyway. They're just not drawing all these like architectural or engineering kind of drawings, so that they know that the cameras are in the right place.
Mm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I'm going to erase this, but remember this is recorded. I'm not going to even do a screenshot for myself. I'm just going to erase this.
I got it though.
All right, so let me go back to Zoom here. I don't see anything in the chat, Victor. Oh, okay, Victor's talking about a Discord channel. All right, does anyone have any questions? Thumbnails for next week, just thumbnails. If you want a little detail, that's fine, but thumbnails don't have hardly any details in them. It's just poses and you're animating the verbs. Remember that for any particular shot, you need 2, 3, or 4 story panels for every shot. And the only time you don't need 2 or 3 or 4 story panels in a shot is if there's very little action going on. So when those dogs are running around, like I said, that's one shot. He's moving. You might need 4 or 5 panels to describe how the guy is walking and how the dogs are running around his feet. In the shot where the guy gets to the car and he opens the door and the dogs go in the car and he closes the door, goes around the other side, opens the door, gets in, you might need 8 panels to describe all that action.
Does it have to be like quick drawings and not like, you know, like finalized drawing?
No, just gestures.
Gestures?
Just gestures. You know, just the poses and the line of action.
Oh, okay.
These are
So
just thumbnails. This is just your thumbnail assignment. We
right
are,
now I got it.
we will go, and that's kind of why I was worried about what Victor was doing, because when we go from this to the next project, I want you doing thumbnails again. And instead of going over and over and over the same story, just pick another story. You're human, you should be able to tell stories easily, especially visual stories. So Victor, you've got your work cut out for you to try to convince me that you can get all of the outcomes correctly if you're going to try to string this as one big project. It might be easier for you to just break it up into smaller pieces. When I'm coming out of the academy, I have the academy students in a 15-week semester do 5 completely different projects, because when that gets on their website for their portfolio, I don't want it looking like they worked on a 5-minute film. I don't want it to look like they worked on a 10-minute film, because if they screw up that 10-minute film or there's something wrong with it, then all the bets are off. Instead, if they've got 1 story, 2, 3, 5 or 6 different stories, especially if they're in different styles, especially if they're drawing in a Disney style or a style for storyboards that's more television oriented, or a style that's more feature film oriented, and then they do another storyboard panel for what a gameplay might look like. That's what the studios are looking for storyboard artists, not that they worked on this feature film in college. So the more examples of different styles that you have, the better. So we're trying to push that here in this storyboard class, but this is just thumbnails. So if your drawings are bigger than 2 inches and you've got too much detail, you might get in trouble with me. If it's fine and you spent way too long on it and it's good and you got an A, you might still be in trouble with me anyway, because you spent too much time on it. The idea is how to do thumbnails quickly. If you're only doing 20 or 30 thumbnail panels for this whole story, literally should take you less than 2 hours. If you're trying to figure out the best way to do it, it might take you a little longer. I just wrote to my master class, if you do it wrong a couple of times, you're going to get full credit. If you're struggling with the drawing and the drawing is getting a little better, you're going to get full credit, because doing it wrong is the best way to learn. If you've already done storyboards before and you're already kind of sort of good at it, I'll give you something different to do. But if you're doing it wrong and then you do it again and it's still a little wrong, you're going to get full credit. If in my animation classes, if you do an animation walk cycle for me and it's just totally bad, and then you redo it and it's still kind of ugly, and then you do it again and it's like, oh, you're getting there, but you know, your overlapping action's not working correctly, and then you're struggling with it, and you do it wrong 8 times, you're going to get an A from me, because I know that when semester's over, you're doing something else, you're going to be like, you're going to be at Lucky Supermarkets buying a burrito or something. You're like, oh, all of a sudden you realize what I said. Everything is going to come back to you. The light bulb might not go on when we're in class. The light bulb might not come on when the semester is in session. But if you do it wrong 8 times, I know you're honest, and all of a sudden, sometime down the road, you're going to figure it out. I promise you, you will. And for me, it's not about just the final product. It's about the process. It's about, well, this is important, learning how to draw thumbnails and go from scripts to maps to thumbnails and back and forth. That's super important. What I did for you, what I did for Phil right now, that's super important. Some of you already can know how to do that. You know kind of where I'm going. You've had animation classes before, or you're a little stronger at drawing in 3 dimensions. That's fine. But remember overall that this thumbnail project is only worth, I don't even remember, it's worth like 100 points or something. I
Yeah,
forgot.
sounds right.
You know, and then the point values for projects gets a little more weighted as the semester gets towards the end. So this is important, but if you totally screw it up, you're not going to kill your grade. However, when we do all our other projects, you're still going to have to do thumbnails for them. Period, right? Got it? All right, so thumbnails are due next week, and make sure they're slugged. Panel number on the upper left, shot number on the upper right. Give me an indication of what you're thinking for time in camera for each one of those story panels. And give lots of room on the left and on the top and bottom, so that you can put your camera directions in there, which is part of the slug too. And if you want to pull at Billy's heartstrings, inner voice, what is that character thinking? Like Phil, if you're going to go with my idea, those dogs are thinking, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, ice cream, oh boy, oh boy, ice cream. And then that idea of those 2 dogs saying, oh boy, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, is going to help you animate it. Because then all of a sudden, you know what the dogs are thinking. And you've seen those videos that are on social media where the woman is sitting there and she gets her phone up like this, and she pretends she's talking to a family member, and she's like, oh, hi, Mom. Oh, yeah, I was thinking of going to the park, but, you know, it's kind of cloudy out. And the dog is like, what? Park? You've seen this video? Oh, yeah, you know, and we might go get ice cream later, but I was thinking that Billy's got a baseball game, and we were going to go buy a new baseball. The dog's like, ball? Have you seen this? No one's seen this video? The dog's like, what? The person on the video, the video is of the dog, but the person speaking is using all the dog words: park, ball, ice cream, and the dog's like, what? What? Wait, what? And
It
like,
sounds familiar.
So there you go.
How do ice cream, how is an ice cream an action word?
It's not. The dog saying, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, running is the action word. Oh boy is the inner voice for the dogs.
Another one. So you said the thumbnail is due on Saturday, but we have to do mapping and the script before we do the thumbnails.
I would like to see these thumbnails next week. And because we're still in the middle of a pandemic and the Delta mutation and the Lambda mutation are still hanging out there in the land of hurricanes, you know, I can move things around as we need. But I want to see thumbnails next week. Please, please, please.
Okay.
All right, I have some other work I got to do tonight. It's a minute past class. A recording of this will be up on YouTube